These are some of my old portrait work. Some are passable, but most terrible. I was looking at these a couple of days ago and I asked myself, why do these look so different? Why don't they look convincing as portraits? In last week's video, I was doing portrait color studies. Well, I kind of jumped the gun on that one, so I'm backtracking by focusing on values first. And so here we are. So what's the plan? The plan is to create 5 to 7 portrait value studies, 1 portrait per day. And my goal is really to imprint my brain with the basics of values, seeing dark values as darks and lights for lights. Here are all the materials I'll be using. I decided to use a bunch of different mediums because I was curious about how the values would translate depending on the materials I was using. At the same time, I also knew that I was going to get bored easily if I stuck to one material, so I thought I'd keep it interesting. I already prepared portrait references that I found online. These are all in black and white. I did think about using colored portraits, but I thought I'd keep it simple for now. Before I could start, I decided to create value swatches of all the materials or the mediums I was planning to use. The reason for the swatches is that I wanted to have a visual reminder that, these were the only set of values that I should focus on instead of being all over the place. I'll probably start with the dark values first, since I'll be working with colored pencils. For the fur coat, I wanted to just capture the big shapes and the masses instead of going into detail drawing every single strand. I'm switching to a lighter colored pencil for this section. Okay, so here's a quick progress report. Obviously, this face is still not done. I've already kind of added the shadow areas here. I still have to add the shadows on this side. That's why it looks a bit lopsided right now. another black. This is Holbein Colors Plus. This actually works as acrylic gouache, so it should be fine. It's day 2 and it's a little late in the afternoon. I got really lazy about starting my painting today, so we're gonna be starting a little bit later than I would like. This was the painting yesterday, and we're gonna work on this side today, on grandma today. This one. Okay, so far this is how she is looking like. I'm gonna start working on the lights, this part, this shade, and then I'll do the mixes afterwards once I'm reassessing. I still want to keep this a bit darker. Right, this is from lights to dark. So that's my pure black, and this is a very diluted version. That's a are going to be the two paintings I'm going to work on. I'm going to use inks. Let's go ahead and start. This is the second pass for the values, the darker values. Let me see, this one. And as you can see, the difference is from the lighter values to the second one. This is the third layer, third value layer for now. I'm still gonna add the last one, which is the black. This one. For the last one, I'm gonna, instead of a pen, I'm going to be using a nib pen because I always use a ballpoint pen anyway, and I want to try using cross hatching to achieve the dark tones or the values. And so we're back for our fifth and final value study for this week. We're going to be using this as our final reference, and I'll be using pen. Specifically, it's a nib pen.
From my winter hell, I've got candles and candy. I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal? Your choice is seminal. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say. Just find your way. Try to stay true. Just speak low, stand in your row. Try not to show this life's a show. Try not to glow. Way down below, oh, it's a lot of woe. And that's not a place where you would like to go. I've got cigarettes and brandy, which could come in handy if you just help me loosen up my hand.
All right, so we're finally done with the series, and now it's time to do a teardown. Okay, so it's not a pure teardown. I'm just really, I like doing this because I like evaluating my work immediately after to see areas for improvements and what I did right and mostly what I did wrong so I can do it better next time. Okay, let's start with the first one. This was the first study that I made, and this is done using colored pencils. Now, at first glance, it looks fine. I love the contrast between the dark hair and the face, as well as the contrast between the fur coat and the hair. As for the face, it's fine just as it is. But my problem with this is that once you compare it to the original, the reference, you can tell that the likeness is quite far off. So here's the original. And the face is a bit elongated. And this, I feel like I zoomed in a little bit and squashed it. So yeah, that's basically just my biggest problem with this one. But it's a good start. I did like this area of the fur here better than this. I mean, I just basically had to figure it out to make it work as a study as opposed to copying the reference material, to a T. So that's very important. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. This is the second value study. This is done using gouache, acrylic gouache to be specific. There are parts of this I like, and there are parts of this that I know I could do better. What I do like about this is I like the hair. I like the contrast between the darks and lights, and even though it was kind of hard to see, here's the reference, it was kind of hard to see the details in the reference because the photo itself was already grainy. Working on this was actually a lot more fun compared to the colored pencil, the first one, because it was just easier. I worked from darks to lights, so I started with the dark tones, like adding all the blacks, and then working my way up to the lightest shade. I still feel like I could tighten the details a bit more and work on getting the values much better. Like for instance, this one, I have a problem with this. I should have darkened this area. This needs to be dark because it's in full shadow, and that's almost the same as this one. This is actually much darker than this. So that's, you know, something I need to consider. Like, look at how dark it is on the reference. It's just a very thin band of light, the reflected light. So yeah. But so far it's okay. It's not terrible. This is the third value study that I worked on, and probably my favorite out of the 5. And I used inks on this one. Obviously, I'm very comfortable with using inks, and it was a lot of fun working on this. I think it's also because the reference was really nice, like this. Look at that. In terms of the likeness, it was okay, even though I freehanded this drawing. It was fine. Like I was fine with it. I also really like how the values looked, and I really think choosing the right reference image does a lot for your artwork. It's really something to keep in mind. So I really would need to learn how to consider choosing the right references first, and if I want to do more of these studies. Okay, let's move on to the fourth one. This is the fourth value study. Now, as it is, I love it. Like, it looks great. I love how her skin, this area particularly, I really like this area. But when you put it side by side or right next to the reference, I get so frustrated because it doesn't look like the reference at all. This is the reference. I actually didn't even look at that. It's so far off. In terms of likeness, obviously it's not the same person. Like, I think I made a mistake here. This was wider, like to match the size of her face, like if you look at that. But then I put in too much black, and I couldn't erase it, obviously, and I didn't want to use whiteout to get the proportions more accurate. Like, I drew it accurately, it's just that when I was inking, I covered it with black. So yeah, I couldn't get that back, so I had to just move on. And that significantly changed her face. So it's not like the same person anymore, and I don't like that because it really does bug me. But anyway, apart from that, in terms of values, this probably taught me a lot though. Out of all the studies, this was probably the most informative for me, because it taught me that sometimes you really just have to be patient and build up the value shades until you get it correctly. Because when you first apply the inks, it's gonna wet the paper, and the color or the shade that you're gonna get is very different from once it dries. So it was a lot of back and forth. Let's move on to the final one. Our fifth and final value study. This was done using pen and ink, and this is fine for this one in terms of values. It was okay. It took a long time to finish because it's just a lot of scratching and details, like trying to get the texture right, especially with the beard and the hair and the slight bit of the clothing and tie. And a chunk of the face was in shadow, as well as the neck was almost black, and I needed to work to make sure that that's the darkest part. I actually like it. Here's the reference. I picked this reference because he reminds me of Hayao Miyazaki. It's not Hayao Miyazaki, but it looks like him, kind of, right? kind of. I feel like his face is too small. It's okay. One thing that I feel like I need to improve on would be my mark making. I'm fine with usually doing squiggles and scratches to build up the tone. Like, I don't really mind it, but I would like to try later on to make the lines a little bit more neater, if I can do that. But yeah, so far, that's all the value studies that I've done. So would I do this again? Yes, I definitely would try this again, but I'd probably use colored references instead of black and whites. And I would also try and make this smaller and make them just smaller, like little studies, so that I can make more. And then I also would probably try and stick to one medium, one or two, and try not to spread out myself too much. But I also would like to improve my mark making. Oh, and I might include more variety with the references that I'm gonna pick for next time. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much for joining me in this week's video, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.